On September 24, 1877, the Imperial Japanese Army decisively ended the Satsuma Rebellion. 126 years later, the film The Last Samurai, loosely based on the rebellion, was released. Though often viewed as historic fiction, it is technically based on real events. But which parts? What characters? How accurate is The Last Samurai? Quick disclaimer. I do not speak Japanese. If you have watched some of my other videos, you know sometimes I can't speak English. So I want to apologize now for mispronouncing things. The film stars Tom Cruise as American Civil War veteran Nathan Algren, who was hired as a military advisor to the new, modern Japanese Imperial Army. This is the first and largest deviation from history, as his character is completely fictional. So we aren't really going to talk about him or his role in the film outside of some interactions with other characters. The next lead character is Katsumoto Moritsugu, based on the real-life Sagoo Takamori, a Japanese samurai who begins a rebellion against the new Emperor Meiji as his modernization efforts threaten to destroy much of Japan's tradition and culture. This is a huge oversimplification of the conflict, and does not include most of the actual motivations of the rebels. Starting with, throughout the film, Katsumoto references the actions and traditions of his ancestors being forgotten, and opposes the radical changes taking place. However, it does not mention that just 10 years prior, in 1868, Japan was radically changed by the Boshin War, in which the real-life Sagoo was an important leader who helped to overthrow the Tokugawa shogunate and reinstate the emperor as the head of state, changing the way Japan was governed for over 200 years. Which brings us to the motivations of the rebellion. The movie makes it purely tradition versus modernization, but in reality, it was mostly political and economic reasons. Under the shogunate, the samurai and the lords they served were largely autonomous. They didn't even really have to pay taxes to the central government, but that was all changing with the newly empowered emperor, who sought to unify Japan under one government with a Western-style bureaucracy and tax system, which threatened the samurai's political power and personal wealth. As a result, many samurai actually joined the new government to keep what they could, even though the film only identifies one samurai working with the central government. Which brings us to another inaccuracy: how many samurai there actually were. Even the film's name, The Last Samurai, implies their rarity in Japan. But in the mid-1800s, there were thousands of samurai of varying ranks. One of the reasons this number was so large was because for most of their history, samurai were the only armed forces allowed in Japan. But that all changed in 1873 when Emperor Meiji established a new Western-style standing army, conscripted from the general population. In the film, this new army was trained by several advisors from the United States. However, the Japanese employed military advisors from several countries, most notably France until 1871, when they lost the Franco-German War, and Japan switched to the victorious Germans as their new advisors. And it would be from Germany that Japan would model its military organization. Furthermore, Katsumoto and the other samurai in the movie looked down on this new army as inferior, but his real-life counterpart Sagoo not only supported a modern army, but was instrumental in its creation, largely because he felt Japan needed it to stay independent from other foreign powers, and also because he wanted to use the new army to invade Korea. And it was the government's refusal to do this that led to him resigning from his position and returning to his hometown of Satsuma. Many samurai followed him and founded a school to train new samurai, which upset the imperial government. In the film, there is a direct assassination attempt on Katsumoto. However, in real life, it's a little less clear. In 1876, the central government sent 58 police officers to Satsuma to investigate reports of unrest. The men were captured, and after probably being tortured, admitted they were sent to assassinate Sagoo. However, they would later recant this confession. Regardless of the truth, this was enough for the samurai to openly rebel and convince Sagoo to lead them. Unlike in the film, there were numerous skirmishes and several battles before Sagoo's last stand at the Battle of Shiroyama, where he died. However, there are several accounts of how he died, ranging from wounds sustained from gunfire to the samurai ritual suicide of seppuku, or assisted seppuku, which is portrayed in the film, with Tom Cruise taking the place of Sagoo's real-life lieutenant, Shinsuke. It is also possible that the latter two explanations were made to save Sagoo the disrespect of dying by gunfire rather than by sword. Following the rebellion, Cruz convinces the Emperor to abandon a trade deal with the United States, which is very misleading, as we don't know exactly what deal they were talking about, but we do know that Japan would continue to trade with the United States following the Satsuma Rebellion. All in all, the vast majority of The Last Samurai is not only inaccurate, but completely fictional, and the few moments of true history are heavily skewed in favor of style. And while you can't look to this movie for information about historical events, you can still learn some small things about individual Japanese customs and practices. Did you learn anything from the movie? Let me know in the comments below, and let us know what movie we should look at next. Thanks for watching.